Rich, thank you so much for sitting down with me today to talk about your inaugural Inland Marine Terminal Operator class. I am so excited for you. I'm excited for our members for this class. Tell me what your vision was for this class.
So the vision was to take all my experience from the LTL trucking industry all the way through the river and the rail industry and put it into a training class. It's kind of a boots on the ground, down in the weeds, how to operate a river transload terminal. So the class will start, with, how do you project and plan your barge unloadings? Is the barge down in New Orleans, or is it in Memphis, or where's it at? And compared to where your terminal is, how do you call the barge in? And we'll get into the details of, what are the different parts of a barge? How do you safely tie a barge up to your dock? We'll move into the transload equipment needed. Is it a bulk barge, and are you going to use a material handler? Is it a project cargo barge where you're going to need a crane? And all the different aspects of a river terminal. If it's bulk, is it going to be transported by conveyor to a warehouse, or is it bulk, is it going to be transported by conveyor to a truck or rail? If there's no storage, it's going to go directly to truck and out the terminal. And then we'll touch on the trucking side as well. How do you bring the trucks in? What does it take to make sure that the truck is clean? If it's bulk equipment, is there enough straps and whatnot to strap down the equipment? Is it steel? Is it coils? Is it whatever a river terminal can transport is what we're going to touch on.
So that's really interesting, because I feel like those of us in the industry, us, including myself, that are unfamiliar with all of these little single but crucial aspects that go into how do we charge for our services? How do we charge for the transport, the storage of from A to Z, whether it's in by barge, out by truck, and then the mixing, the blending. I mean, there's so many aspects. So first off, I feel blessed that we're all able to learn from your experiences, your lessons learned. So tell me a little bit about where you've been to get to this point.
So, I spent about the first 15 years of my career in the LTL trucking industry. So I'm at the bottom of the supply chain, handling the skids on, dry vans and trucks. I learned that and moved my way up, starting off as a supervisor to terminal manager and regional manager and whatnot. And then back in 2007, 2008, I was able to make the jump into a river and rail transload facility. To me, it was one of the best family, businesses out there, Lang Stegman Company. And at the time I knew nothing about fertilizer, and I knew nothing about barge, and I knew nothing about rail. But what I knew is I knew how to manage people, I knew safety, and I knew the trucking environment. I knew what an operation was. So I spent 11 years there running the operations, and I'll tell you, it was a great success. And Lang was obviously bought out by Bruce Oakley, which is another first-class company, and they're taking that tradition on. So most of my experience on the river has been in bulk, although I have we did a lot of other transload as well. So the bottom of the supply chain looking up, and then I end my career at the top of the supply chain looking down.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think you're a very humble person. And so I want to take you back, and I want to say, what was the tonnage like when you first joined the Lang Stegman Company, and where did you grow that company to be?
So Lang's got a storied history, and again, it's it's probably, to me, it's the best in class operation that was out there. But, Lang Stegman was a fertilizer, distributor at the time, and they bought and sold fertilizers, and they did some transloading as well. Due to the urban sprawl aspect and all that over the years, the closest farms, migrated further and further out from St. Louis. And in 2007, they had, it was kind of a critical juncture in the company, and they had to make a decision. Are we going to continue down the path where we're at, which is kind of unsustainable, or are we going to grow and utilize our infrastructure here on the river, utilize our wonderful rail assets, and really take advantage of the river in this first-class operation? And so, but 2007, 2008, they became strictly a transloader. Actually, 2009, they sold the fertilizer business in 2009. But when I started, they were very successful, but at the time it was they handled about 130,000 tons. loaded about 8,000 trucks a year and a few hundred rail cars a year. At the end of it, they're pushing 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 million tons and loading out well over 8,000 rail cars. And
Wow.
and again, the vision that family had and the location was next to none, and everybody understood the importance of the river. I don't think anybody really understood the power that once you put all your assets into utilizing the river, the power that the commerce off the river can have on an operation.
That's so cool. I think it just reiterates, right? The fact that we as professionals in transportation get to learn from the best of the best, from growing up and I guess perfecting your career from the best in class facility. I think it's such a great opportunity.
Yep.
So you as a faculty member of the International Association of Marine Port Executives, I guess I'll go back and I'll say, remember when Lang Stegman hosted the inaugural Inland
Yes.
Marine Port Executive class
Yep.
in 2016 in St. Louis. Thank you.
2016, yep.
Thank you for being our inaugural host and trusting us.
Yep.
And here we are in 2023. Like, how crazy is that? We've been able to grow that class, grow our alumni, and now we're offering the Inland Marine Terminal Operator class. So that being said, that week in September, when you're teaching this first class, what are the dates again?
September 26th and 27th.
Okay, so the 26th and 27th is the Inland Marine Terminal Operator portion. Also, that same week is the Inland Marine Port Manager class.
Correct.
And the Inland Marine Port Executive class. So it's a full week of just nonstop education from the best of the best, from the best in class. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to take the class. I'm excited for our members to take the class, and thank you for your experience, for your knowledge, and your willingness to share.
Oh, I'm very excited about it. And the river's been somewhat of a passion for me, and things change over the years. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have it when Captain Monroe would approach me and ask me to do this. I was a bit skeptical and a little bit nervous as well. Boy, am I going to teach people? But really, that's what I've done my whole career. I think that's what's made me successful, starting out in the LTL industry and then working my way up to Lang Stegman and then a few years with Alter and Logistec as well. Is the ability to teach people, to empower people to make the right decisions. And when they make the wrong decisions, it's always a teaching moment. It's not a threat on the job or whatever. And I think I can translate that into the classroom as well and really bring a lot of real life experiences to the class. And it's not just going to be read off a slide. I'm going to interject a lot of experience.
I think that's really what makes the class the best, right?
Absolutely. And even though the experience is probably more bulk loaded, I think there's enough experience with Project Cargo and break bulk as well in all modes of transportation that's going to make the class very, very, very interesting, and it's very positive, especially for your new folks and for, like you said, the executive directors or port managers that haven't been on the ground in quite a while, really understanding what their operations folks go through or need to go through on a daily basis to run a safe and efficient, environmentally sound terminal.
Right? I mean, you look at, an operation like a terminal, whether it be a trucking terminal, rail terminal, river terminal, and you look at, say, the public port that it might sit on or adjacent to, and the governance structure of that. We often talk about like the commissioners and their need to understand what their port staff goes through and does and how to support them. I also feel like this is also the case where port executives also need to understand and know what the terminals go through and how they can support the terminals. I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. You have to understand your operation in order to properly price it. You have to understand your operation in order to keep it sustainable. And if you lose focus of what really goes on, if you lose focus on that next safety device, or you lose focus on that next piece of equipment that you really need, somebody else is going to pass you up, and you really need to understand how to do it. And again, it's all about safety. It's all about environmentally sound. And it's about profitability as well, let's face it.
And keeping freight moving, keeping a healthy supply chain, being sustainable and reliable, attracting business to the river, road, and rail, but attracting them to our properties, and what factors of consideration go into that. For me, I'm so excited to take this class and learn so much. So thank you again, Rich, for sharing with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.